AITA for planning a surprise party for my husband and inviting his ex-wife? So, I, 29F, have been married to my husband, Mark, 32M, for 3 years. Mark and I have a fantastic relationship. He's supportive, funny, and my best friend. However, there's one thing I've noticed that always seems to put a damper on our happiness: his ex-wife, Sarah, 30F. They were married for about 5 years before divorcing, and although Mark says they're on good terms now, I can tell there's still some unresolved tension there. Mark's birthday is coming up soon, and I wanted to do something special for him. I thought a surprise birthday party with all his friends and family would be the perfect way to show him how much he means to me. After some brainstorming, I came up with a list of people to invite, and to my surprise, I realized that Mark had mentioned Sarah a few times in passing. He said they were friendly, and she was part of their friend group, so it made sense to invite her, right? I brought up the idea to a few mutual friends, and they all seemed on board. They said that Sarah was actually pretty cool and that inviting her might help make the party more fun. So, I went ahead and sent out the invitations. Everyone was excited, and I thought I was doing a great job. A week later, I casually mentioned the party to Mark. His reaction was not what I expected. He looked stunned and a bit uncomfortable. When I asked him what was wrong, he hesitated before saying, "You invited Sarah?" I said yes, thinking he'd be happy to see his friends together, but he got really tense. Mark told me that while he appreciated the thought, he wasn't sure he wanted Sarah there. He explained that even though they were on friendly terms, there were still a lot of unresolved feelings from their past. He didn't want to put himself in a situation where old wounds could be reopened, especially in front of everyone. I was taken aback because it seemed so casual when I had brought it up before. I tried to convince him that it would be fine, that everyone could just enjoy the party. But Mark insisted that it wouldn't be comfortable for him and that it might ruin the celebration. I felt hurt that he wouldn't trust me enough to handle the situation and let me invite someone he claimed was just a friend. After a bit of back and forth, I decided to keep Sarah invited but also told Mark that I would respect his wishes if he truly didn't want her there. Fast forward to the day of the party. Everything was going smoothly. Mark was having a great time, laughing with friends, and seemed genuinely happy. I felt proud of how everything turned out. When Sarah arrived, I noticed Mark's mood shift. He became noticeably tense, and I tried to play it off as if everything was fine. But as the night went on, I caught Mark sneaking glances at Sarah, and I could see that he was struggling with his emotions. After a few hours, Mark finally pulled me aside and said he needed to talk. He confessed that seeing Sarah there was harder than he expected and that he was feeling overwhelmed by old memories and feelings. I felt awful for putting him in that situation, but part of me was also frustrated because I believed I had done something nice for him. The party ended up being a mixed bag. Everyone had fun, but I could tell Mark wasn't fully present. After the party, he confronted me about my decision to invite Sarah. He said he felt betrayed that I didn't respect his feelings, and that I put him in a position to relive old memories. I told him that I thought he would be fine and that I wanted him to enjoy his birthday with everyone he cared about. Now we're in this weird place where I feel like I was trying to do something nice, but I also see that I crossed a line. Mark feels hurt, and I'm starting to wonder if I was too insensitive to his feelings. I just wanted to celebrate him, but now I'm worried I may have damaged our relationship. So, Reddit, AITA for planning a surprise party for my husband and inviting his ex-wife? AITA for cheating on my girlfriend after she continuously neglected me? Hey Reddit, I'm in a tough situation and could really use some unbiased opinions on whether I'm the jerk in this situation. So, I, 27M, have been with my girlfriend, Lisa, 26F, for about 4 years. We met in college and instantly hit it off. In the beginning, our relationship was amazing. We went on spontaneous trips, had late-night talks about our dreams, and really felt like we were partners in everything. However, over the past couple of years, things began to change. Lisa started focusing heavily on her career, which I totally understand. She's ambitious and has always wanted to succeed in her field. But as she climbed the corporate ladder, I started feeling more and more neglected. She began working long hours, often coming home late, and when she was home, she was usually exhausted or too preoccupied with work to engage with me. I tried to be supportive and patient, thinking it was just a phase, but it started to take a toll on me emotionally. I tried talking to her about it a few times. I'd express how I missed our connection, how we used to spend quality time together, and how I felt more like a roommate than a boyfriend. She would nod along, promise to make more time for us, and things would improve for a week or two, but then it would go right back to the same routine. After months of feeling neglected, I started feeling lonely and frustrated. I found myself scrolling through social media and seeing couples doing fun things together, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of envy. I wanted that connection back. I felt like I was putting so much effort into our relationship, but it was one-sided. Eventually, I started seeking companionship elsewhere, not because I wanted to hurt Lisa, but because I craved emotional connection and intimacy. About 6 months ago, I met a woman named Sarah, 25F, at a mutual friend's party. She was vibrant, funny, and had this infectious energy that drew me in. We started chatting, and before I knew it, we were flirting. I felt a spark that I hadn't felt in a long time, and it terrified me. I knew it was wrong, but I was so desperate for affection and attention that I allowed myself to get swept up in the moment. We exchanged numbers and started texting, initially under the guise of friendship. I kept telling myself that I wouldn't act on anything, but as the weeks went by, my feelings for Sarah grew stronger. I started looking forward to our conversations and felt seen and appreciated in ways I hadn't felt in ages. Eventually, we went out for drinks, and I made a huge mistake. I kissed her. That kiss ignited everything, and soon we were seeing each other regularly. I felt awful about cheating on Lisa, but at the same time, I couldn't deny that Sarah made me feel alive again. I would rationalize my actions by reminding myself how neglected I felt, and that I was seeking something I wasn't getting at home. I justified my infidelity by thinking I was merely trying to fill a void that Lisa had created. But guilt started creeping in, and I knew I had to make a decision. When Lisa found out, it was like my world shattered. I had been so careful to hide it, but she noticed the change in me. One night, after I came home late from seeing Sarah, she confronted me. She asked why I was being distant, why I was suddenly so secretive. I broke down and confessed everything. Her face went pale, and I could see the hurt in her eyes. She screamed, cried, and it felt like my heart was being ripped out. I had destroyed the person I loved most, and I knew I had no one to blame but myself. In the days that followed, Lisa moved out of our apartment. She was devastated, and I felt like a monster. I tried to convince her to give me another chance, to work through our issues, but she said she needed time apart to figure out what she wanted. I felt like I had ruined everything, and my heart ached with guilt and regret. During our time apart, I had a lot of soul-searching to do. I realized how much I had taken Lisa for granted and how my actions had devastating consequences. I had betrayed someone who had loved me unconditionally. It hit me that I had never really talked to Lisa about how I felt neglected or what I was going through. Instead, I chose the cowardly path of infidelity. After several weeks of reflection, I reached out to Lisa and asked if we could meet to talk. I wanted to apologize sincerely and take full responsibility for my actions. We met at a coffee shop, and I could see the pain in her eyes as I spoke. I told her how sorry I was, how much I regretted my choices, and how I had finally understood the impact of my actions. I acknowledged my mistakes and told her that I was committed to making changes in my life, regardless of whether we could be together again. She listened but was still hurt and guarded. I understood that it would take time for her to heal and that I couldn't force her to forgive me. I offered to seek therapy and work on myself, not for her, but for my own growth. I wanted to become a better person, whether we ended up together or not. It's been a few months since that conversation, and while Lisa hasn't taken me back, she has agreed to talk occasionally. I'm still dealing with the fallout from my actions, and I know it'll take a long time to rebuild trust, if that's even possible. So Reddit, AITA, for cheating on my girlfriend after feeling neglected for so long? I know I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still grappling with whether my feelings of loneliness and my choices were justified in any way. AITA for inviting my husband's ex-girlfriend to our anniversary dinner? Alright, so I, 31F, have been married to my husband, Jake, 33M, for 5 years. We have a good relationship, mostly. However, there's one topic that often comes up in our conversations: Jake's ex-girlfriend, Melissa, 32F. They dated for about 2 years before he met me, and while he insists they're over it, I can tell there's still a lingering fondness there. For our 5th anniversary, I wanted to do something special, so I planned a surprise dinner party with our closest friends and family. I thought it would be a great way to celebrate us and the life we've built together. I was super excited about it and wanted everything to be perfect. One night, while discussing the guest list with some friends, I had a wild idea. What if I invited Melissa? I thought maybe it would be fun to have everyone together and see how far we've all come. Plus, I had met her a few times at social gatherings, and she seemed like a nice person. So I went ahead and sent her an invite, assuming Jake wouldn't mind. When I told Jake about the dinner and that I invited Melissa, his reaction was not what I expected. He went pale and stared at me like I had just announced I was moving to Mars. He asked if I was serious, and when I confirmed, he told me that he didn't want her there. I was taken aback and asked why. He said that he had moved on and felt it would be weird to have her at our celebration. I insisted that it was just a friendly dinner and that it could be good for everyone. Jake wasn't having it. He said it would ruin the vibe of our anniversary, and he felt uncomfortable with the idea. I tried to convince him that it would be fine, that I was just trying to include everyone who mattered in our lives, but he remained firm in his stance. After a heated argument, I reluctantly agreed to drop the invitation to Melissa. The day of the dinner arrived, and I had everything set up perfectly: decorations, food, and drinks. I was feeling good about it, and I thought Jake would appreciate all the effort I put into it. The guests arrived, and everything was going smoothly. But halfway through dinner, Jake's mood shifted. He started becoming distant and less engaged in the conversation, which made me worried. During a quiet moment, I asked him what was wrong, and he confessed that he felt sad about not inviting Melissa. He said he had thought about her all evening and that it was bothering him that I didn't respect his feelings about wanting to include her. I felt like I had done all this work to make the evening special for us, and here he was, fixated on someone who was no longer part of our lives. At that point, I got frustrated and told him that if it mattered so much to him, he should have just said something before. I didn't want to put him in an awkward position or force him to relive memories of someone else, but it felt like I couldn't win no matter what I did. Jake ended up going outside to cool off, and I felt like the entire night had turned into a disaster. Afterward, I talked to a couple of friends about what happened, and they seemed divided. Some agreed with me that inviting Melissa was a bad idea, while others said that I should have listened to Jake and included her. I'm starting to feel like I should have respected his feelings more, but I thought I was doing something nice by wanting to have everyone we cared about at our anniversary dinner. So, Reddit, AITA, for inviting my husband's ex-girlfriend to our anniversary dinner?